Eagles news. NFL insider says it's for sure much quieter in Philly with A.J. Brown gone. Ian Rapoport aims subtle dig towards A.J. Brown following his Philadelphia Eagles exit HIDC. Well, first of all, the no A.J. Brown is certainly different. I mean, we've talked about A.J. Brown as it relates to the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 years, and here it's just much quieter, said Ian Rapoport on the Pat McAfee Show. There's always noise around the Eagles. In the news world, we are always going to talk about them, but it's not the same. It's not like, A.J. said this today. How do you react? It is for sure much quieter. Jalen Carter contract. Extension details, void years, and weight bonus, BGN. The Eagles signed Jalen Carter to a 4-year extension just as training camp began. We learned that it was a $152 million deal, and now we know some more about how Howie Roseman structured things, and, you guessed it, utilized void years to cushion the cap. Rube's bonus observations. Eagles thrilled with a humble, motivated Jalen Carter NBCSP. When you're Darius Cooper and you're undrafted and low man on the depth chart and the Eagles just added 4 wide receivers this offseason, you really have to find ways to stand out in limited reps. Cooper sure did that Wednesday. He made a number of good catches, most notably a diving snag of a Jalen Hurts pass down the middle of the field. What was particularly impressive was that Cooper held onto the ball after landing hard. These are the things Cooper did to make the team last year, but the WR room is deeper this year and it won't be easy for him to stick. But if he keeps making plays like that, especially in the preseason games, he's going to force the Eagles to make a very difficult decision. NFL's top 5 defensive tackles in 2026. Jeffrey Simmons at number 1. What about Aaron Donald? NFL.com. Jalen Carter. If this list were based solely on talent and tools, Carter would be the undisputed number 1 player at the position. Checking in at 6'3" and 314 pounds, the number 9 overall pick from the 2023 NFL Draft is a freak athlete with violent hands and a nasty disposition. The 2-time Pro Bowler flashes take over the game ability when he is locked in, but his inconsistent motor and focus prevent him from dominating from the opening snap to the final whistle. That said, the steady stream of highlights makes it hard to ignore his talents as a splash play specialist. Although he only managed to play 11 games in an erratic 2025 campaign, Carter can vault to the top of the chart if he turns it up a notch and decides he wants to dominate games week in and week out. Jalen Hurts is putting his money on Jalen Carter. Howie Roseman and the Eagles organization even more so PHLY. Jalen Hurts' wife put a $5 bill in his backpack when the Eagles quarterback reported for training camp Tuesday. We don't know why. After the first workout of camp Wednesday, Hurts told reporters it was an inside joke. Hurts brought it up because he said he'd arrived at the team facility Tuesday, and he'd learned defensive tackle Jalen Carter had agreed to a reported 4-year, $152 million contract extension, with $106 million in guarantees. I smacked it on his chest and said, "Let me put a 5 on top of that," Hurts said. He's a great competitor, great player. He was disrupting practice out there today. I'm just excited for him to be able to focus on what's to come. That was the importance of General Manager Howie Roseman getting Carter's deal done before Wednesday's first workout. Players don't really hold out of training camp anymore. There are stiff fines for that. They do hold in, showing up but watching from the sidelines as their teammates work. That was the case Wednesday with Atlanta running back Bijan Robinson and Detroit running back Jahmyr Gibbs. The Eagles, trying to get out of the gate fresh and rested after a too long offseason, didn't need any of that. Carter, coming off a frustrating year marred by shoulder injuries, didn't need any of that. After meeting a legend, rare guy Rick Woolen is even more fired up about being an Eagle Inquirer. Rick Woolen stopped in his tracks. Following Thursday's practice, the newest Eagles defensive back was sprinting off the field when he was waved down by one of his all-time favorite players, Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. Woolen, who is the second tallest cornerback in the league, was enamored by the Eagles legend's build at 52 years old. "He's big as hell," Woolen said with a laugh. "I didn't expect him to be that big, bro." People inside the building have been saying similar things about Woolen since he signed with the Eagles. Woolen, 27, is not your typical corner. Whereas other defensive backs stand at an average height of 5'11", according to Joker Mag, Woolen has an impressive 6'4", 210-pound frame. This physical advantage made him a Pro Bowler in 2022 and a key cog in the Seahawks Super Bowl run last season. These traits are the reason why General Manager Howie Roseman handed him a one-year deal worth up to $15 million in March. With Woolen, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean in the defensive backfield, the Eagles now have 3 Pro Bowl cornerbacks for the first time in team history. So, how are things going with this potentially dominant trio so far? It's pretty cool because it's just learning how to fit in with these guys, Woolen said Thursday. I know my personality. I get along well with everybody. So just being able to become close with these guys, that's all I really care about. Jordan Mailata. If stadiums are grass for the World Cup, that should be bare minimum for us PFT. Jordan Mailata has spent his NFL career playing for the Eagles, so he's accustomed to his home field playing surface being grass. But Mailata also just watched the World Cup get played in NFL stadiums across the nation, and all of those games were also played on grass, including in places where the surface is normally turf. As a member of the NFC East, Mailata plays at MetLife Stadium and AT&T Stadium every year, 2 of several sites that converted to grass for the World Cup. As Philadelphia's NFLPA rep, Mailata has added his voice to the many who are calling for all NFL games to be played on grass, particularly in light of what we all saw this summer, how the Eagles' extension of Jalen Carter impacts the Seahawks' field goals. Williams is unquestionably in a different category than Carter or Murphy, neither of which has yet to reach their prime. At 32 years of age, Williams is in the home stretch of his career, but coming off a second-team All-Pro season in 2025 and back-to-back Pro Bowl selections, the extension Williams signs will certainly not be small, and it will undoubtedly provide another anchor point of supporting evidence towards the value of an extension for defensive linemen across the NFL, including Murphy. Further, any agent negotiating an extension for a high-level defensive lineman is all but certain to cite the recent Carter extension as evidence of a higher market for the position group as a whole, meaning that between now and whenever Murphy and the Seahawks enter contract extension talks, there will be multiple deals where the contract value was impacted by the Carter contract and then in turn used as backing for the arguments as to Murphy's value. In short, the Carter extension resets the market for impact defensive linemen, specifically interior defensive linemen, and the Seahawks are set to extend 2 players to whom that description aptly applies. So, while the Carter extension won't officially start until 2028, its impact on the league and Seattle in particular is likely to be felt multiple times over the coming year. 2026 NFL Training Camp. Latest news, intel for all 32 teams. ESPN. Quarterback Drake May and wide receiver A.J. Brown connected on their first deep ball in training camp Friday, and Brown also delivered a one-handed catch in the end zone in 2-on-2 work. It is just trying to feel the connectivity building now, May said. You know when things are clicking, and I thought we had some good plays today. Each play sparked a rousing cheer from one of the most energetic crowds the Patriots have had in their 6 overall practices. Those fans might have been expecting more immediate fireworks from May and Brown when it was clear they were working to get on the same page. But things seem to have turned a corner in recent days. On Thursday, May connected with Brown on a couple of shorter touchdown passes. Friday marked the first time Brown got behind the defense with a double move, CB Christian Gonzalez closest in coverage, in part because coaches previously didn't have him running many deeper routes, if any at all. A check-in on the other NFC East teams' training camps. Philly Voice. Jerry Jones said that the Cowboys never stopped pursuing Maxx Crosby back in March. The Raiders traded Maxx Crosby to the Ravens for a pair of first-round picks, and then the Ravens infamously reneged on the trade due to injury concerns. Crosby went back to Las Vegas, where he remains a commonly speculated trade target. Before that saga unfolded, the Cowboys were reportedly also in the mix for Crosby. At the start of Cowboys camp, Jerry Jones was asked why the Cowboys walked away from discussions to trade for Crosby. He said, "We didn't. So, those rumors are going to heat right back up. The Cowboys need better edge rushers. They traded for Rashawn Gary, who is probably now their best edge defender, but who also has 0 double-digit sack seasons in his 7-year career. They spent recent high picks on a pair of edges in 2025 second-rounder Donovan Ezeruaku and 2026 first-rounder Malachi Lawrence. They have some potential with those young guys, but they still have to prove themselves. The Raiders would almost certainly demand at least a first-round pick for Crosby, and likely more. Crosby would certainly help the Cowboys' defense, but personally, that is not a price I would pay for a player with significant injury concerns who will turn 29 this month. It's worth noting that the Cowboys have one first-round pick in 2027. They technically sorta hold two first-round picks, their own and the Packers' pick, but they owe whichever one of those picks ends up being better to the Jets. Obviously, that makes their first-round pick less valuable in trade discussions. Stephen Jones stirred the Dallas Cowboys rumor pot blogging The Boys. Stephen also left room for the possibility of bringing in a veteran. We know that there are players out there like Von Miller who would relish the opportunity to play for Dallas, so maybe somebody of that variety. Do you think the Cowboys are legitimately cooking something up? Or do you think this is just talk on an off day? With DQ's focus on competition, Commanders must gel as a team to win Hogs Haven. Coming off a 5-win season and entering the 2026 season with 2 new coordinators, and at least 15 veteran free agents who weren't playing for Washington a year ago, questions and opportunities abound. It's clear that, outside of Jaden Daniels' health and performance, there is no single position group that holds the key to Commanders' success in 2026. This is genuinely a case of the entire team needing to rise up to meet its potential. New York Giants training camp report, Day 3, winners, losers, more takeaways, Big Blue View. After doing individual drills and running routes on air the first 2 days of training camp, the Giants gave wide receiver Malik Nabers, coming back from a torn ACL, Friday off. I'd say it's part of the process. Just got to work through it. And every single day will be what it is, Harbaugh said. Every day he's working real hard. Made a lot of progress, and that's what we decided to do today. Kyle Shanahan's car accident has transformed into the NFL's biggest mystery, SB Nation. Kyle Shanahan was involved in a car accident shortly before training camp began. That is the lone fact we know with certainty. What began as a seemingly routine traffic incident, one that should have made minor waves, has turned into a quagmire as numerous layers of attempted cover-ups, media favors, and altered facts have quickly transformed a snowball into an avalanche of speculation. The most bizarre element of all this is, why? The official version of the incident is really quite benign, ostensibly saying that Shanahan was distracted, looking for his dropped phone and caused an accident. It's reckless and dumb, but something that happens thousands of times every day across the United States. If that is truly what happened, then why have the 49ers and everyone in their orbit gone to such profound lengths to hide the details of what occurred, treating the incident with the same gravity as an international incident, rather than a serious fender bender?